The Dead Zone film. The Dead Zone is a 1983 American science fiction thriller film directed by David Cronenberg. The screenplay by Jeffrey Boam is based on the 1979 novel of the same name by Stephen King. The film stars Christopher Walken, Brooke Adams, Tom Skerritt, Herbert Lom, Martin Sheen, Anthony Zerbe, and Colleen Dewhurst. Walken plays a schoolteacher, Johnny Smith, who awakens from a coma to find he has psychic powers. The film received positive reviews. The novel also inspired a television series of the same name in the early 2000s, starring Anthony Michael Hall, the 2-hour pilot episode of which borrowed some ideas and changes used in the 1983 film. In the novel, the phrase dead zone refers to the part of Johnny Smith's brain that is irreparably damaged, resulting in his dormant psychic potential awakening. When some information in Johnny's visions is beyond his perception, he considers that information as existing in the dead zone. In the film adaptation, the phrase dead zone is that part of his psychic vision that is missing, a blank area that he cannot see. This dead zone refers to an outcome that is not yet determined, meaning Johnny can change the future. Plot. After having a headache following a ride on a roller coaster, Castle Rock, Maine schoolteacher Johnny Smith politely declines when his girlfriend Sarah asks if he wants to spend the night with her. As he drives home through stormy weather, he has a car accident that leaves him in a coma. Awakening under the care of neurologist Dr. Sam Weizak, he finds that 5 years have passed and Sarah is now a married mother. Johnny discovers that he can now learn aspects of a person's life through physical contact. As he touches a nurse's hand, he sees her daughter trapped in a fire. He also sees that Weizak's mother, long thought to have died during World War II, is still alive, and that a pushy reporter's sister killed herself. Johnny's mother has a heart attack and dies after Johnny visits her in the hospital. As news of his gift spreads, Sheriff George Bannerman asks Johnny for help with a series of murders, but he wishes to be left alone. Sarah visits with her infant son, and Johnny and she have sex, though she declines a further relationship. Having a change of heart about the murders, Johnny agrees to help Bannerman, and through a vision at the crime scene, he discovers that Bannerman's deputy Frank Dodd is the killer. Before they can arrest him, Dodd kills himself. Dodd's mother shoots Johnny before being killed by Bannerman. Disillusioned and barely able to walk, Johnny moves away and attempts to live a more isolated life. He tutors children working from home until a wealthy man named Roger Stewart implores him to come visit and tutor his son, Chris. They form a friendship, but Johnny soon receives a vision of Chris and 2 other boys drowning in a local pond during an ice hockey game that Stewart was going to coach. He implores Stewart to change his plans, but he refuses. He smashes a vase with his cane to make his point and is terminated. Despite Stewart's skepticism, Chris believes Johnny and stays home, but the other 2 boys drown, greatly shocking Stewart. Johnny realizes he has a dead zone in his visions, where the future is changeable. Johnny attends a rally for Greg Stilson, a superficially charismatic third-party candidate for the United States Senate, for whom Sarah and her husband volunteer. Johnny shakes Stilson's hand, revealing Stilson as a ruthless demagogue who, as president, orders what appears to be a preemptive nuclear strike. Johnny seeks out Weizak's advice, asking, for instance, if he would have killed Adolf Hitler if he had the chance, knowing beforehand the atrocities Hitler would commit. Weizak replies that he would have had no choice but to kill him. Johnny leaves Sarah a letter, telling her that what he is about to do will cost him his life. Johnny loads a rifle and takes aim at Stilson at a rally, with Sarah in the audience. His shot misses the target, but Stilson grabs Sarah's baby and holds him as a human shield. Johnny refuses to risk hitting the child. A photographer snaps a picture of Stilson holding the baby. Sarah retrieves her baby, but before Johnny attempts to fire again, he is shot by Stilson's bodyguard. Confronted by Stilson, Johnny grabs his hand and foresees Stillson's reputation and political ambitions being ruined. After the photograph of his cowardly act is published, Stillson will commit suicide. Johnny lies dying, satisfied that the Holocaust has been averted. Sarah embraces Johnny and tells him that she loves him as he dies. Cast, production, development. After King's novel The Dead Zone was released in 1979, Lorimer Film Entertainment began developing a film adaptation. Producer Carol Baum gave the book to screenwriter Jeffrey Boam and asked him to write a screenplay. "I saw it had great possibilities and agreed to do it," Boam said. He developed a script with director Stanley Donen, who left the project before the film had reached production at Lorimer. Lorimer eventually closed its film division after a series of box office failures, and soon after, producer Dino De Laurentiis bought the rights to The Dead Zone. He initially disliked Boam's screenplay and asked King to adapt his own novel. De Laurentiis then reportedly rejected King's script as involved and convoluted. However, David Cronenberg, who ultimately directed the film, said that he was the one who decided not to use the script, finding it needlessly brutal. De Laurentiis rejected a second script by Andrzej Zielowski, eventually returning to Boam. The film was finally on track to be made when De Laurentiis hired producer Deborah Hill to work with Cronenberg and Boam. Boam abandoned King's parallel story structure for The Dead Zone's screenplay, turning the plot into separate episodes. Boam told writer Tim Lucas in 1983, "King's book is longer than it needed to be. The novel sprawls and it's episodic. What I did was use that episodic quality because I saw The Dead Zone as a triptych." His script was revised and condensed 4 times by Cronenberg, who eliminated large portions of the novel's story, including plot points about Johnny Smith having a brain tumor. Cronenberg, Boam, and Hill had script meetings to revise the screenplay page by page. Boam's triptych in the screenplay surrounds 3 acts: the introduction of Johnny Smith before his car accident and after he awakes from a coma, a story about Smith assisting a sheriff in tracking down the Castle Rock killer, and finally Johnny deciding to confront the politician Stillson. Boam said he enjoyed writing character development for Smith, having him struggle with the responsibility of his psychic abilities and ultimately giving up his life for the greater good. "It was this theme that made me like the book, and I particularly enjoyed discovering it in what was essentially a genre piece, a work of exploitation," he said. In Boam's first draft of the screenplay, Johnny does not die at the end, but rather has a vision about the Castle Rock killer, who is still alive and escaped from prison. Cronenberg insisted that this trick ending be revised. Boam submitted the final draft of the screenplay on November 8, 1982. King is reported to have told Cronenberg that the changes the director and Boam made to the story improved and intensified the power of the narrative. Before Christopher Walken was cast as Johnny Smith, Cronenberg initially wanted Nicholas Campbell to portray Johnny, but the director wound up casting him as the Castle Rock killer instead. Cronenberg also wanted Hal Holbrook to portray Sheriff Bannerman. In addition to Donen, both John Badham and Michael Cimino were also considered to direct. Filming. Shooting started in early January 1983 and took place in the Greater Toronto Area and the regional municipality of Niagara of Cronenberg's native Ontario, Canada. The so-called Screaming Tunnel, located in nearby Niagara Falls, Ontario, was also used as the backdrop for one scene. The gazebo was built by the film crew and donated to Niagara-on-the-Lake. According to a David Cronenberg interview on the DVD, The Dead Zone was filmed during a relentless deep freeze in southern Ontario, which lasted for weeks, creating an authentic atmosphere of sub-zero temperatures and icy, snow-packed terrain, which made for great natural shooting locations, despite it being almost too cold for cast and crew to tolerate. Canada's Wonderland, a theme park 30 km north of Toronto's city limits, was also used as a filming location. Music. The music soundtrack, composed by Michael Kamen, was recorded by the National Philharmonic Orchestra, London, at the famous EMI Abbey Road Studios. Michael Kamen conducted the recording sessions. The orchestra was contracted and led by Sidney Sachs. This is the only Cronenberg film since The Brood 1979 for which Howard Shore was not composer. Reception. The Dead Zone received very positive reviews on release. It holds an approval rating of 90% on review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes based on 48 reviews. The site's consensus reads, "The Dead Zone combines top direction from David Cronenberg and a rich performance from Christopher Walken to create one of the strongest Stephen King adaptations." On Metacritic, the film has a score of 69 out of 100 based on 8 reviews, indicating generally favorable reviews. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave the film 3.5 stars, describing The Dead Zone as by far the best of the half a dozen cinematic adaptations of King's novels to that date. He praised Cronenberg's direction for successfully weaving the supernatural into the everyday and noted believable performances by the entire cast, especially Walken. Walken does such a good job of portraying Johnny Smith. Janet Maslin of the New York Times referred to the film as a well-acted drama, more eerie than terrifying, more rooted in the occult than in sheer horror. Dave Keir of the Chicago Reader was more critical of the film, describing it as by no means a bad film, just a disappointingly bland and superficial one, in which director David Cronenberg relinquishes the